I like to subscribe to all that. You already know what time it is. It's Netflix time. This movie's called Man in Love. When he meets a debt-ridden woman who cares for her ailing father, a debt collector with a heart of gold sets out to win her love. Now I remember hearing about the 2014 version. I think they either remade it or did their own spin on it. So the Taiwanese movie just came out. It's about an hour 55 minutes long. Spoiler alert, let's just get it. So we got Chen just looking through shit. This dude owed money, but he ain't got it. He said he got paid for it to make sure his son is better out the hospital and shit. He's been crippled. This dude Ching hits himself with a vase and he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna give you some money anyway. After all the other niggas left. So hey, he's not that bad of a guy, but he's also not that good at being a debt collector. So he goes against the money, but he doesn't squeeze every little last penny out of everybody, like his bosses want him to. Of course, when he gets there and niggas is short, they got beef. So they was always about to make an example out there, man, Mango. Why they call him Mango? Look at his head. Looks like a mango. But Chen gets him to chill out. He said, man, I'll get the money from elsewhere. The reason he even got into his business in the first place is because this lady saved his parents' life when they were out dead, broke and everything. And she was also financing his brother's barbershop. So it's all in the family, basically. So they're at the hospital doing their usual, collecting debts. And they gotta collect some money from this old guy who is clearly not in a position to be doing anything. Then we got this girl by the name of Ting that takes care of her grandfather. And Ching instantly takes a liking to her. Yet and still, they're about to drag his ass out because they owe money. Because he owes money. So she resisted at first, but reluctantly, she accepted the job from Ching. What kind of job exactly? I'm not sure. Afterwards, he ends up giving some random doctor business. And she really is a thought prostituting, wanting Birkin bags, all that bullshit. But he ends up giving her money anyway, just cause. Cause he's got a heart of gold. But had that been your boy, he'd be like, man, fuck out of that bullshit. Anyway, we found out one of the jobs she works at is either the DMV, a teleprompter. I'm not sure exactly what she does. Maybe it's a bank, who the hell knows? Bottom line, he got her a decent job, but he still don't fuck with him. He watched her for the distance, checking up on her. Goes back to the hospital, take care of her granddad. Then she's going to some spot to get something to eat. He follows her and takes some damn bike. I'm like, what the fuck? He trying to get the conversation, but she don't want to be bothered with him like that. And then she's like, alright, I'm getting the fuck up out of here. He thinks he's gonna get her in only a matter of time. Back at the house, he gets woken up by his sister who's always asking for money. He should be passing out cheese even though the debt collector still need their money. There's Ching's brother and his wife. Like I said, Ching has his brother has a barbershop. She always talk about she gonna divorce him, but she ain't going nowhere. And he's like, look, I ain't going nowhere. She cleaned up the house, doing everything she need to do. Like, fuck that shit. He just happens to be riding a bus. And that's his father. He actually works for the bus company. He tells his father he wants him to drop him off at a spot so he can get some money. But really, he gets dropped off at Ting's job. He ordered up all the ticket numbers just so she wouldn't get him out of line. But she ain't trying to hear nothing. He trying to say that she calls security. And then he calls the manager. He's like, hey, what you put your arm around my girl's shoulders for? What the fuck you doing, manager? He goes there, starts causing ruckus me while she just gets on the phone like, alright, whatever. And Ting gets this guy at the police station to try to do something about Ching. She tries her hardest. But they can't do nothing to him because his boys finance the police department. So at this point, she's running out of options. She's like, man, I just gotta deal with this nigga. Then his sister pops up, tells the situation. She's like, man, why don't you just apologize to her? Like, even if you ain't do nothing wrong, that's what girls want anyway. So instead, he comes up with this brilliant idea to make a chart of himself and a bunch of boxes. Now, what is this for? So they meet it once again. He explains the chart. So he explains to her the chart is for debt collection. Each date we go out on, I fill up a box. When I fill up the entire chart, your debt's paid off and you ain't have to worry about nothing. But then he starts suggesting stuff he wants to do on these quote-unquote dates. She pours a drink on him and dips off. Considering the stuff you were suggesting, what did you think was going to happen? After that, back to taking care of her grandfather. Come to find out she's running low on money. And then end up taking his father out of the hospital room. So she needs to find a way to come up with some money quick. Ain't none of her peoples and nobody try to help her with nothing. They're too busy and shit. So she has one alternative left. She goes back to meet up with Ching. She like, look, no funny business. Just simple dates and stuff like that. Walk around parks and strolls. And she stamps her seal of approval as official. And they're pretty simple dates. He even got his hair done up on one of them. But she really started to see the real him when he started taking care of her grandfather. She ain't take a liking to him yet, but she knows he's not all bad. Their dates go a little bit smoother. There's this one point he's walking her over towards a hotel. She's like, fuck out of here with that shit. We ain't there yet, nigga. Then we find Mango and the boys tearing up this one spot because they ain't get that money yet. You already know it is debt collecting. Ching gets him to stop tearing up the place and doing all this other stuff. Meanwhile, he's got like a pole in his hand. But when she got there, that's all she saw, so she assumed that he was part of it. Meanwhile, he gets back to the spot. He's getting irritated at how they're going about their business. Then she breaks it down to him like, don't forget your place. Don't forget, your brother still owes me. He's like, no, don't take it out on him. You take it out on me. Don't mess with the family. Next day, Ting goes to go see her grandfather and finds out he's missing from his bed. Like, what the fuck? She goes up on the roof and finds Ching and the grandfather he's reading books to him and whatnot. She's like, why you got him out here in the sun? He can't be on the roof like that. And he's like, yo, calm down. I'm just reading his book. So she's thinking about that and probably the fact that he was involved in some other shit, debt collecting incident. And as she's walking away, he tells her that he loves her. So he thought he was getting close. I guess he felt like he fucked up. He goes back to the little shorty spot. He done got drunk. Kicks this guy up out of there, starts throwing money at her all over the place. He's like, what are you doing? I got customers. She's like, look, man, I can tell you I love you, but we both know I be lying. And he just don't know what to do with himself at this point. Then he comes back to the hospital on a drunken tirade to see Ting, but then he stops and realizes that her grandfather's not in the bed. He's all nice and made up. Yeah, he straightens up real quick. Then we find out that her grandfather did pass away. The guy asks if anybody's going to be there. She's like, nobody's going to come and attend. But then Ching shows up with a bunch of stuff, and he sets up the whole room and everything. A nice little memorial without trying to bother Ting. A nice little tribute to her grandfather. Then she meets some of the people from the debt collector incident and sets her straight. He actually told her that Ching was the one that broke up everything and he was not starting anything. So now she's starting to have a newfound respect for Ching. Then he helps out, carries her things, carries a picture of her father, a grandfather, while she's carrying the urn, driving her back to her place. He gets everything situated. She gives him a glass of water. Then he tells her to get some rest and then he leaves out. Yep. See? He's not that bad of a guy. Then later on, he gets his father some groceries. A random dude starts honking his horn at him. He's like, man, fuck out here with that shit. Then he gets her some groceries, some ginseng, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Then he's about ready to dip out again. Then she tells him to come back for a minute. Then they go to the rooftop admiring the other buildings. They get into a conversation, and then she asks him, like, what do you like about me? Tells her long legs and her beautiful smile. Then she kisses him on his cheek. He's like, alright, that's what's up. But he goes for the gusto, like, alright, man. And she with it. But then he tries to get the business right then and there. I'm like, dude, you're not even in the room. Like, what are you doing? She's like, be patient, nigga, I got you. Then they go bowling, getting strikes and all that. This is the first time you see a smile on her face. Then this nigga shuts down the bowling alley, turns the lights down. He got stuff going across the screen. One of his boys runs past to give him a mic. He starts dancing. Then he busts out a song for her. Totally caught her off guard. Girls was talking trash about him being corny. She's like, hey, that's my man's over there. Fuck out of here. Yeah, she's sticking up for her now, so you already know what it is. And then they get back to the house. And they went full-fledged this time. He ended up giving her the business. Then she tells him his dream about wanting to own a juice shop one day. He likes the idea. He's like, that's what's up. But he still gotta handle business in this one spot. But things get out of hand with one dude having a knife. And he ends up getting cut the fuck up. That's a terrible gash on the side of his head. It's like, damn. So apparently she was waiting at the restaurant for their anniversary. He finally shows up all bleeding and shit. Then he tells her he had a revelation. He says he's getting out of the debt collecting business and he wants to run the shop with her. Whenever they get the money for the shop, that is. He goes to those people, telling them he's out of the business. They don't want him to go, but they can't stop him. So now they're gonna figure out how they come up with the money, the licensing, everything like that to get the juice shop going. It's gonna take a lot of money and they don't have a whole lot of openings either. So with the frustration building up, he got no choice but to try to go back to his spot. But he doesn't want Ting to know that he's doing it again. When she comes home, she shows Sice that she's getting stuff for sale and after a certain time when they go to the market. Later on, he starts talking about his dreams of really trying to make this juice shop work. Talked about how he really liked her since the first day he saw her, how much she appreciated her grandfather. A lot of other things were said, and that's when she was like she loves him too. So he knows about her grandfather's life insurance money, so she's gonna get him to put it in a stable so that way they could get a juice shop going and get it popping themselves. But instead he ends up taking that money to the debt collector spot and attempt to gamble part of it so he could triple what it's worth. She calls him to try to figure out everything is good, but she ain't getting no service. He ain't getting no service either because he's like under in the basement. All of a sudden the spot gets mugged and robbed by some random niggas. Ching out here whipping these niggas ass. Why boss lady and the boys leaving out the back so casually? He was battling hard trying to fight all these niggas off. Meanwhile, Ting's at the spot still trying to call Jing. But he's busy whipping ass and getting his ass whipped by now. He's beating the fire out. One of them gets him on the ground. And finds out one of the robbers is Mango. What the fuck? That was his part-time job? Was this shit set up? What the heck is going on? His boys beat him, get the money, and get the hell out of there. Later on, he's sitting at this table fucked up. She catches up with him, trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Why is your face messed up again? But he's not really telling her nothing. Then he tells her the money's gone. She's like, how the fuck is the money gone? She didn't tell her what really happened because that would involve telling her about the debt collecting stuff. He basically says some shit about gambling it all away. She knows something ain't right about what he's talking about. Don't make no sense, but still, she's still trying to help him out. Then he tells all this bullshit about how he really doesn't love her, all this other stuff. Basically to keep her away because he knows he's a fuck up. And she doesn't want to believe him, but because of the scenario of things that's happened, she's really starting to. And after some things transpire, she does leave him there. Clearly she didn't want to go. She started crying immediately after she left. He knows he fucked up, but apparently he was making too much noise. Police came around to calm him down, but then he pushed one of the police officers and then assaulted him. Got on top and started beating the shit out of him. Well, that action landed him in jail, but he was released 6 months later on good behavior. Or at least that's what we thought. So his first action, he wants to pay back the money he owes Ting, but to do that, he's got to find his former employer. He finds them and finds out they're doing quote-unquote humanitarian work now, right? She's like, man, I ain't got that kind of money no more. I'm gonna put your ass on welfare, nigga. Dude gives him a box lunch and tells him get the fuck out of here. We see that Ting's still working at the same spot. She goes back around to the area that she usually eats at, and we see Ching in the distance. For some reason, his nose starts bleeding. Then we go back to Boss Lady and finds out her spot's been ravaged by Ching, who is still there with a propane tank about to blow shit up. He's like, look, man, I need that money. It's not for me. He's like, look, I'm willing to put my life on line. I don't give a fuck. They don't think to ourselves, why would he do this? Come to find out when he was in jail, he was having severe nosebleeds. And the doctors told him there he had a severe brain aneurysm. So that was the reason that he was able to get let go early. So yeah, it wasn't just good behavior. And at this point, he could pretty much die at any moment. So yeah, he's like, Boss Lady, I'm gonna need you to come about that money. So as Ting is walking, this is the first time she sees Ching in like 6 months. He's holding the envelope, which is undoubtedly the money that he owes her because of her, granddad's insurance money. But she don't care about the damn money. She wants an apology from him. Pretty much broke her feelings in her heart. He tells her to stay with him just for a minute. And obviously she's still mad at him. But the fucked up thing is, he never told her that he was pretty much going to die soon because of the, brain aneurysms and stuff he's got in his head. So she don't know his situation and he's basically just sitting there. Then he finally goes to talk to his people who apparently don't know his situation either. Well, he eventually told them, but he didn't tell his dad. Because his dad is starting to get Alzheimer's. Then him and his brother had a fight about making dad work at side jobs and whatnot. And I don't think at that point he knew about his brother's situation. So he gets one-on-one conversation with his dad. And his dad has always wished for him to have a wife and some kids. He's like, you gonna let me see your girl one day? And of course all that's getting to him obviously because, Ting don't have nothing to do with him. But the thing is, she don't know about what the fuck is going on with him. Well, he's at the point he's got some money together. He's gonna get a train and get the fuck out of here. He's basically just gonna leave for good. But before he does that, his sister stops him and gives him a bunch of money, which of course he gives back some of it. He can't take the whole thing because it's just not him. Then he goes to Ting's place of business, see her talk to other dudes. I guess it's gonna be like a double date or something. So he's looking out the window of the restaurant and he sees that she's pretty much moved on, right? I guess he's at that point where she's thinking to himself, he's better off without me. Then as he's walking, his nose starts bleeding again. Then he coughs up a ridiculous amount of blood and passes out on the ground. Next thing you know, he wakes up in the hospital. He's thinking to himself, how did he get here? The nurse tells him some lady dropped him off. But we know who it was. It was Ting. Yeah, she saw him she heard all the commotion that was going on outside. And then she got all the information from her peoples what was going on with Ching. Now he could basically die at any moment. So when she came back to the hospital and found out he was missing, she went going looking for him. She found out from the hospital he was talking about getting on the subway on a train. So she headed straight to the train station. She headed over there, called his phone, heard the ringer, found him. And once she seen him crying, she hugged him and told him, don't you ever leave me again. You got that? Now he's back at his brother's house about to get his face shaved. He goes out to do something and she's like, I'm gonna try my hand at it. And she gives him a nice clean cut. And she ain't letting him out of his sight no more. Then they go to the hospital to get the surgery done. And they gotta do it from his lower back. And the surgery's not even 100% honestly. In fact, he's basically been in a wheelchair. The irony about this is, they explain in the movie that her grandfather actually had the same symptoms. Man, that's some wild shit. She relived some final memories with him, and we didn't know right then and there, but he actually died right there in the hospital. Damn, I didn't expect him to go right after the surgery. Then they had the funeral. They set it up the exact same way that he had set it up for her grandfather in the past. Then we get this conversation that he had with his dad before he passed on. He said since Ting never had a dad, he wanted him to act like her dad, you know what I'm saying? Like to take over, whatever. When he approaches the car when he was told to sit by Ching's brother, she's just so surprised to actually see him there. A couple months later, it's almost New Year's Eve. She's still working at the same spot, and she's standing there ready to catch the bus. She catches the bus to meet up with Ching's dad. Basically, he's pretty much got full-fledged Alzheimer's now at this point, so she's taking care of him. Meanwhile, his brother's having a nervous breakdown because he gets a last present from Ching, and it was a new barbershop pole. And she's basically on the bus with Grandpa. They're going to meet up everywhere to get to a family dinner or whatever. That's what they're all gathering for. We get one last shot of Ching. And then to cap off everything, at Ting's desk or the workshop, she still keeps the picture of the contract he drew up like years ago. Or a year or two ago. So it kind of felt like it had the same concept as the one from 2014. I think this is just a remake, honestly. But it's in its own interpretation. It's pretty cool. Pretty sad, but you know. Man in Love on Netflix. Check it out. Like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. Look easy, all the easy best. Big. You got a slogan.